Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Chapter 2, text 59. Vishaya vinivartante. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehina. Niraharasya dehina. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Param drishta nivartate. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehina. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehina. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Dehinaha. Rasavarjam rasupyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Yasya dehina. Rasavarjam rasupyasya. Mataji. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehinaha. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehinaha. Rasavarjam rasopyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishaya vinivartante. Niraharasya dehinaha. Rasavarjam rasupyasya. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishayaha. Objects for sense enjoyment. Vinivartante. Are practiced to be refrained from. Niraharasya. By negative restrictions. Dehina, for the embodied. Rasavarjam, giving up the taste. Rasa, sense of enjoyment. Api, although there is. Asya, his. Param, far superior things. Drishtva, by experiencing. Nivartate, ceases from. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Please repeat after me. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Purport. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restrictions from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is sometimes like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. A patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancements in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good if one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. Mangala Charana prayer must be Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam yena bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunantam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So, we're all looking for pleasure. Life without pleasure means death. When someone finds no means to seek this enjoyment, he commits suicide. So we are all trying to be happy, that is the aim of life. Everybody is trying to enjoy life. Of course, happiness is a restrictive word because we can see even from a material point of view, people seek pleasure in other things than happiness. For example, they will, watch some scary movie, things like that, right? So they're trying to seek pleasure even in fear. Actually, this is a suppressed spiritual desire, because we can see that in in the manifested pastime of the Lord, when He comes, He brings pleasure to His devotees from different sources of emotions, not just from happiness, from fear, from bewilderment, anger, all these things. So we're all seeking that, but we might not be convinced that this is the way. We might not be certain that if I go to Krishna, I'll be happy. I might be on the borderline, you know. We might be seeking sometimes pleasure at the temple and sometimes pleasure outside. You know, the cricket is coming soon. You can watch this also. That's quite nice. You know. So the taste for sense enjoyment remains. You see, taste for sense objects remains, but by experiencing a higher taste. So that is the only way that actually one can become fixed up in Krishna consciousness, is that if he develops taste for this process. As long as we come here and just formally do our business, you know, like someone checks in at work, you know, punch in, punch out, it's something formal. As soon as, let's say, you change your job, are you going to be calling your former boss and, hey, let's go out? And the relationship is formality, strictly business, they say. But our relationship with Krishna should not be strictly business only. That I come to the temple because this is what we have to do. I come to the temple because, you know, this is what my parents taught me. We have to come out of sincere feelings. And if we don't develop these sincere feelings for the Lord, then there's every chance that we will fall away from the path, you know. Because after all, we want pleasure. So if we cannot get it here, we are going to try to seek it elsewhere. This we cannot control. So this is the way to be fixed in consciousness. What is this consciousness? It's not said to be fixed in material consciousness. The meaning here is to be fixed in this understanding that I am a servant of the Lord. That is consciousness. Consciousness is a disease condition. The word consciousness means we're sick. Because actually consciousness means Krishna consciousness. To say consciousness only is simply an handicap. There's no such thing as consciousness. Consciousness is an illusion. It's Krishna consciousness. Every single second, those who are liberated soul, the Acharya, today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all our great Acharyas, they're also conscious like us. They have this consciousness, but it is not the cricket consciousness, wife consciousness, anxiety consciousness, broke my arm consciousness, toothache consciousness. It's not like that. It's Krishna consciousness. It never deviates. So they are actually persons. We are not persons yet. We are trying to become persons. We look like persons, we have 2 arms, 2 legs and so on, but the persons are in the spiritual world. The living entities, the real living entities are beyond this material manifestation. And the proof is that our personal perspective of ourselves is always changing. Our bodies, when we were a baby, we thought, I'm a boy, a little girl. And now we're thinking, I'm a man. It is asat, it is temporary. So the self-identification is wrong. It is always changing. One day I'm thinking, oh, you know what, now I think I'm a communist. And then the next day, no, actually I've been convinced by my friend I'm a capitalist and so on. So we are not sure about who we are. But the liberated personality, they are beyond this illusion. There's no question of who am I, I'm like this, I'm like that. No. So they are always in love with Krishna. All of them. So Prabhu gave a very nice, His Grace Nagopal Prabhu gave a nice lecture today, that why we have to come in touch with such personalities, because they are above the darkness of illusion. They are the one who can, you know, bring us back. But the thing is, we are very unintelligent, and therefore we don't accept things directly. They tell us something and we doubt. Of course, it is a natural thing to be doubtful. It's not very rare, but so therefore we need to come to this taste. We have to come to actually feeling what it is to be Krishna conscious. So if we don't do that, then we might fall away. Of course, if one falls away after beginning Krishna consciousness, there is no loss, but that doesn't mean that this is the way it should be done. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. That immature stage means this formality. I'm coming here, I'm bowing down, I'm doing this, offering pranam, this. But there's no proper understanding of why I'm doing these things. There's no proper taste within the relationship of the servant and the served. The servant is not capable of understanding yet the importance of serving the Supreme Lord. So he may sometimes fall down, yet there's no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So why this statement was there? This is a statement by Srila Narada Muni to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva. Now why did he say that? It's because Srila Vyasadeva was actually feeling dejected after writing all the Vedas, which deal mainly with karma kanda, jnana kanda, things that are not directly related to Krishna. So Narada Muni told him that you have not broadcasted the glories of the Lord. So now one might think, well, if you only preach this Krishna consciousness, people might come 1 or 2 days and then they'll go away, so what's the point? Why not just engage them in, karma yoga or, karma kanda activities? At least they're fixed up in something that has to do with Sanatan Dharma. Well, Narada Muni says here, no. He says that even if they just come 1 or 2 days and they never come again, that is success of their life. Whereas if they are perfectly maintaining their family and performing all other duties, that is lost at the time of death. So a few verses later, 19. So 1.5.19, here this taste is spoken again. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. So we have to at least one time in our life experience that. We have to have experienced a taste for Krishna consciousness, a taste for the lotus feet of the Lord. At least once, then we will have something to remember of. If you see the first generations of devotees, and when Srila Prabhupada went to the West and he preached, he made so many disciples, many of them fell away from the path. But most of them have experienced the taste because they have seen Srila Prabhupada, they have experienced the physical presence of a Mahabhagavata. So if you listen to following Srila Prabhupada's series, it's a 11 episode series which is about 3 hours each. So it's all the footages that we have of Prabhupada, and then you hear devotees who were there at that time speak of that. And you will see how all of them practically have experienced some transcendental bliss. Just like they said sometimes they felt Prabhupada before seeing him. Prabhupada was walking behind them and a surge of spiritual ecstasy came through them. And they started to cry and they could not understand. And so these type of spiritual ecstasies, of course, this is not to be imitated. It comes from the mercy of the spiritual master. Prema bhakti jaya hote, avidya vinasha. So the prema bhakti emanates from the spiritual master. So such symptoms of ecstasy given by the spiritual master are his mercy. In the nectar of instructions, they are called shadow reflection. Because we are not yet on the platform of always experiencing these ecstasy within the heart. But when they appear, it is compared in the nectar of devotion to be like the reflection of the light to the moon coming onto our heart. In other words, the heart of the pure devotee is moon-like. And sometimes you can stand also in the light of the moon and you can have some of the experience. So unless we come to have this realization, because if we simply have book knowledge that is called jnana, it is theoretical. But if we develop taste for chanting the holy name, doing bhajan, offering arti, bowing down to the Lord, feelingly within the heart, then it becomes realized. There's two words, right? Jnana, vijnana. Jnana means theoretical knowledge. Vijnana means practical application. So if I actually understand that I'm a servant of the Lord, then I will surrender to that understanding. And I will, feelingly try to do devotional service. So, this is the distinction between formality and starting to develop sincere feelings. And only then, it is said, we can seize such engagements. What is this engagement? Sense enjoyment. That's it. Sense enjoyment will always come in unless and until we develop a genuine taste for Krishna consciousness. Because we're all attacked by this, all of us. What is this attack? This. We're attacked by this thing. We're shackled by phones. Is it not? All of us, we've got these cell phones. Like you sit down at 1 minute and you don't know what you're doing, immediately, let me open YouTube, watch a couple of shorts. So we're always attacked by Maya. Maya is very, very strong now with this technology thing. So if we're not constantly engaged with, spontaneous desire to serve the Lord, then this will get us. It will overpower us. But this enthusiasm will never come unless we stay in the association of devotees. This is why sadhu sangha is always stressed. Without this, there's no question of this verse. This verse cannot come about. Seizing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste. You cannot experience a higher taste on your own. It's not possible. It is a struggle. On our own, practicing Krishna consciousness is a struggle. So, the purport here is this, is that at one point we have to try to surrender to the idea that this is my existence. Not that this is something that has to be achieved. It's not the mean to an end. It is the end. So, to understand oneself as Nitya Krishna dāsa is not an easy thing, but it can be done more and more as we engage in devotional service in the association of devotees. If we keep ourselves distant from the devotees, then we associate with non-devotees. And what do we do with non-devotees? Even though they might be our family members and so on, what do we do? They'll discuss so many other subject matters, right? Oh, have you seen, this great personality said that, and oh, he said this, and now there's some problem between this government and that government. So immediately they bring back this material consciousness on us. But when you're protected in the association of devotees, there's nothing else but Krishna Katha. And that's actually the protective force, So if we just come in and out, Srila Prabhupada said that it's like keeping one foot on the dock and one foot on the boat. So the boat is departing. So what happens? At one point you'll do a split and you'll fall in the water. You'll be neither here, neither there. So we have to become serious. And what is this seriousness? How is it manifested? First step is that one will start chanting Hare Krishna. He will buy a bead bag, and at home he will say, okay, now I will chant a certain number of rounds daily. That is the beginning of seriousness. He would chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is when we see that someone says, I want to buy a bead bag, I want to start chanting. That is the first step. Because if someone says, I want to buy a book, that's nice. But the book is there to convince you to chant. If you're at home and you're simply reading and not chanting, still it's theory only. So if you start chanting Hare Krishna and you're chanting, okay, I'll do 4 rounds a day from now on, 8 rounds a day from now on, and you come to the point of 16 rounds a day. Because why 16? This number could have been 15 or 14. 16 is the number given by the pure devotee. That's it. And that's why it's accepted by Krishna. So 16 rounds a day, if we come to that standard, then we are entering the bona fide realm of devotional service. Whereas, now this devotee is following the order of the pure devotee. So Krishna takes special interest in that person. So, and of course, there's further advancement. One will one day want to be initiated, But this is, unless we come to chanting a fixed number of rounds and increase to the platform of 16, this higher taste will not be experienced. It is not possible. It will be, of course, when we come to the temple, everybody feel comfortable, feel happy, it's natural, we feel relieved. But that's more of a relief from material anxiety than a positive addition. When we come here, we forget our maybe miseries from outside and so on. But that is not positiveness. Positiveness means when we start to develop loving feeling for the Lord. So, there's this verse here, Bhagavatam. (515). Until what time the class? When is the offering? So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 5. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, "What you have said is correct. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised in eloquent transcendental verses by such exalted personalities as Brahma, are very pleasing to great devotees and liberated persons. One who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lord's lotus feet, and whose mind is always absorbed in his glories, may sometimes be checked by some impediment, but he still never gives up the exalted position he has acquired." So when we try to advance spiritually, perform this devotional service, there will sometimes be some impediments. But who is that person who is not giving up? The person who has got some attachment for this Krishna consciousness, who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lord's lotus feet. So that means discussions about the Lord, chanting His holy name, all these devotional activities. So he's sometimes checked, because this material world means notion of miseries. There will be so many different situations that block ourselves from further surrendering. So, but if we stay put and we have faith and we have experience that yes, this is it, then we are not going to be deviated from our fixed platform of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada says, Sri Sukadev Goswami accepted both the king's propositions that a person who has advanced in Krishna consciousness cannot embrace materialistic life again. This is important. A person who is advanced in Krishna consciousness cannot embrace materialistic life again. That means that someone who goes back to his former position is not advanced. So this beginner platform in Krishna consciousness is dangerous. That means we can go back. And if we go back, that means what? That means again we can fall down to a lower platform than human body. That's the danger. We can be animals again. We can have a body of a dog or a cat. This is possible. These are not stories. We didn't choose to be born. We're not choosing to grow old. Nothing is within our control. One day we'll be lying down and death will take away everything we have. This is all done by superior arrangement. So we'll have to accept another body. So that's the danger. And that one who has embraced materialistic life cannot take up Krishna consciousness at any stage of his existence. We cannot become serious in Krishna consciousness if we want to keep material enjoyment, this materialistic life. In the minds of those who are resolute, the determination for Krishna consciousness does not take place. In the mind of those who are attached to sense enjoyment and are bewildered by such things, this is from Bhagavad Gita, the resolute determination for Krishna consciousness does not take place. So this is, I believe, 241, 244, yeah. So, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So why some of us are serious, some of us are less serious? This is the cause. We are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence. What is sense enjoyment? Senses. We've got 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, 5 working senses. If we like to use these things for our personal pleasure, that is called sense enjoyment. Just like today we're discussing with Tadvavid Prabhu about like South America, how they have so many types of dance. This dance, that dance, samba, this dance. What is this? This is using the working senses, right? The arms and the legs, and then moving them left and right. So that means they're trying to enjoy the lusty feelings within the arms. Unless you've got this lusty itchiness that you're trying to satisfy, why your arms are flapping in the air like this? There's lust in the arms, right? Krishna says, where is lust? Where is lust located? And the senses. The senses, the mind and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, the real consciousness of the living entity is being covered. So these dances, it means the lust is within my working senses. And I'm dancing. Why my arm is very peaceful here and your arm is flapping in the air? I mean, lust is controlling you. Your legs are going like this, left and right. It means lust is in your working senses. So you're using your working senses to try to enjoy life for your own satisfaction. You're using your knowledge-acquiring senses, eyes, to watch movie. Oh, I'm going to go watch the latest Bollywood movie. So I'm going to hear the latest Bollywood songs, all these things. If you're attracted to these things, forget about this. Determination will never come. It's not possible. Because you cannot light a fire by pouring water on it. Have anyone done that? That lighting a fire and at the same time you pour water and you believe that what is going on? No, you have to stop pouring water. But you cannot give up sense gratification unless you've got some engagement. We cannot stop from doing activities. As soon as we go back home, what happens? We sit down, there's the TV there, there's the sofa. Can you just sit down and do nothing? No, the remote is there. Then, sense, the lust is in the right arm. Oh, do, lust is in the eyes. Oh, and then you're like a ghost, oh, next channel, next thing. Especially now, this new thing they had, right? Like a couple of years ago, you didn't have reels. You didn't have shorts, right? Those 1-minute thing. Now, it's swallowing the world, Everybody is swallowed by that. Like before, I'm not saying it's good, but before we had like a movie, right? There was like a movie and from A to B, you had to follow a story. Okay, like your intelligence was like following Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. So there was some A to B thing. Now you're stuck into this whirlpool of shorts. You cannot escape because it spins like this. As soon as you finish watching the 1 minute, it starts again. Right? So you cannot escape that spinning, horizontal spinning, and then you get the vertical spinning. So you're like this, and it doesn't end up, And when finally you realize how nonsense you are to have wasted 1 hour of your life watching these things, you close it, and how do you feel? Disgusted with yourself. You feel like you've been sucked away by a witch for 1 hour or something. So we're all attacked by these things. So therefore, unless you stay with the devotees who are going to be engaging you in Krishna conscious activities, you're not going to be giving up this siphon of reels or whatever else it is. Not possible. So that means that this verse can come about also only because of devotee association. And what is this material opulence? How to define it? What is material opulence? 4 things. Wealth, beauty, respectable family, and education, right? Knowledge, yes. So, wealth, if I want to be opulent, beautiful car, I want to have a nice house, We're not just speaking about outside members, even us devotees, if we are endeavoring for these things, that determination will slowly diminish, right? 6 things that diminish devotional service. So try to acquire, like decorate the house too much. I want to buy this, I want to make the house beautiful, I want to make this. Even us, if we are practicing Krishna consciousness, we endeavor too much for that, our enthusiasm will dwindle. If I want to be too beautiful, so, of course, there are some regulative, there's some, it's allowed for women to make themselves pretty and come to the temple, so this is there in Shastra, but still it should not be to an extreme, right? You can wear gold, makeup, all these things, beautiful sari, that's fine. But now, even within our movement, we see that some Matajis, they're doing what they're doing. They're putting themselves pretty, then they go out, and then they took these reels, and they spin their dresses, and they think that this is preaching. So this is the danger. You see these things, especially like Mayapur, Vrindavan, so many Western Matajis, they do these things. Not just Western, even Indians, but mostly coming from the West, So they wear tilak, they have chant Hare Krishna, but what is the thing? It's sense gratification. It's lust, right? Displaying one's body. So, yes, material opulence. Then learning, if we want to show that we know very much, I'm a great scholar, all these things. So resolute determination for Krishna consciousness does not take place. It will not happen. Although accepting both these statements, Sukadev Goswami qualified them by saying that a person who has once absorbed his mind in the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead may sometimes be influenced by impediments, but he still does not give up his exalted devotional position. So here we're speaking of someone who has gotten taste for Krishna consciousness. Not just formal, but actual experiencing feelings, spiritual feelings. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, there are two kinds of impediments to devotional service. The first is an offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Yes, so even though we might have taste or be very, very advanced, if we commit Vaishnava parad, that is destroying our little advancement that we might have. This is called Vaishnava parad. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned his devotees not to commit Vaishnava parad, which he described as the mad elephant offense. When a mad elephant enters a beautiful garden, it destroys everything, leaving a barren field. Similarly, the power of Vaishnava parad is so great that even an advanced devotee becomes almost devoid of his spiritual assets if he commits it. Even an advanced devotee. Of course, now we're speaking of advanced devotee. The topic of this class was for neophytes. But we can see how it is dangerous. So that's why we all address each other as Prabhu and Matajis. Prabhu, what can I do, Prabhu? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Always be very, very careful with the devotees. Because if we disrespect the devotees, Krishna becomes angered. Since Krishna consciousness is eternal, it cannot be destroyed altogether. But advancement may be checked for the time being. Thus, Vaishnava parad is one kind of impediment to devotional service. Okay, the next segment is a more advanced subject matter, but we can still read it. Sometimes, however, the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee desires to impede one's devotional service. How come Krishna will impede our devotional service? So we see this in the life of great acharyas. Just like Srila Prabhupada. He was given order to preach in the West by his spiritual master when he was only 22, I believe, or 20. So, but only when he was 70 years old did he carry out the order. So why? What happened? Krishna made the arrangement. So sometimes the Lord will also, seemingly slow down the progress of a devotee. It's not that it's slowed down, but it appears to be so. For example, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were formerly Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. But by the desire of the Lord, they became his enemies for 3 lives. Thus, the desire of the Lord is another kind of impediment. So sometimes, but this we speak, you see, here the quotation is Jaya and Vijaya, liberated personality. So sometimes the Lord, for his pure devotee, he will impede their spiritual advancement. Of course, it's not like us, just like Prabhupada, again, same example. How is it that only at 70 years old, he could be successful into carrying out the order of his spiritual master? It is said in Shastra that the senses of a pure devotee are controlled by Krishna. They are controlled from the internal potency. So the arrangement of Krishna were there. It's not that Prabhupada was struggling or, it's not like that. It's a pastime. This is how it had to be done. But in both cases, the pure devotee once advanced in Krishna consciousness cannot be lost. Advanced devotee cannot be lost. Following the orders of his superiors Svayambhuva and Lord Brahma, Priyavrata accepted family life. But this did not mean he lost his position in devotional service. Yes, because this was surprising that why such an advanced devotee will enter Grihastha ashram. Because Grihastha ashram means you must have material responsibilities also. So why someone who's advanced devotee will want to impede his spiritual advancement by divert his attention? So the answer here is that a very advanced devotee actually doesn't lose his exalted position, even though he's in Grihastha ashram. Krishna consciousness is perfect and eternal, and therefore it cannot be lost under any circumstances. Because the material world is full of obstructions to advancement in Krishna consciousness, there may appear to be many impediments. Yet Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declares in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktaha pranashyati. Once one has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. In this verse, the word Shivatamam is very significant. Shivatamam means the most auspicious. The devotional path is so auspicious that a devotee cannot be lost under any circumstances. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita by the Lord Himself. Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate. My dear Arjuna, for a devotee there is no question of being lost, either in this life or in the next. In Bhagavad Gita 6.43, the Lord clearly explains how this is so. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labate paurvadehikam yatate cha tato bhuya samsiddhau kuru nandana. By the order of the Lord, a perfect devotee sometimes comes to this material world like an ordinary human being. Because of his previous practice, such a perfect devotee naturally becomes attached to devotional service, apparently without cause. Despite all kinds of impediments due to surrounding circumstances, he automatically perseveres in devotional service and gradually advances until he once again becomes perfect. So Srila Prabhupada is describing the Nitya Siddha living entities. Because when we see the life of Prabhupada, he appears, from material vision to also have been like a child, then a student, going to university and, meeting the spiritual master. So there appears to be like a gradual elevation in Krishna consciousness. But this is not so. It's actually, he's perfect. But why the Lord does this is to show by example. So Prabhupada's life is a perfect example on how we can also become Krishna conscious gradually. Accepting Grihastha ashram, then entering Vanaprastha, and ultimately taking sannyas, and so on. Bilva Mangala Thakur had been an advanced devotee in his previous life, but in his next life he became greatly fallen and was attached to a prostitute. Suddenly, however, his entire behavior was changed by the words of the very prostitutes who had so much attracted him, and he became a great devotee. So, for those of you who do not know, Bilva Mangala Thakur, in his past life, was a very great devotee. He had attained a very advanced position of devotional service, but he fell down. So he became, in his next life, he became attached to a prostitute. And one day he wanted to go see that prostitute, and it was raining, there was a great storm, and still he wanted to go, The senses are so strong that they can carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them, Krishna says. So he became completely under the sway of lust, and never mind torrential rain, and I believe he had to cross a river, and there was like a dead corpse, floating. And he saw the dead corpse, and he thought, this floats, I'll use that. So he crossed the river with the dead corpse, and I think there was like a wall, and then a snake, he grabbed the snake, and of course, this is all, the stories are very unique, because Krishna made these arrangements to show how strong lust is, and also he wanted to deliver his devotee. So finally he reached the prostitute, and the prostitute saw how you have come here, and then he related the whole event, and she said, if only you had that much attachment to Govinda, then you have to this material body, So after hearing this, then his Krishna consciousness revived and he went to Vrindavan. And Prabhupada explains that his spiritual master instructed him through that prostitute. There was an interesting class that Prabhupada gave. Actually, it was a conversation. every morning we sing Chakudano Diloje Janme Janme Prabhu se. So one devotee was asking Prabhupada, is it that if we don't make it this life, you will be coming again, personally to deliver us like that? So Prabhupada said, don't worry, arrangements are already there, And then he quoted that story. And he said, Bilvamangalas Thakur's spiritual master expanded in the form of that prostitute. Of course, it's not that he became the prostitute. The point is that he used the prostitute to instruct his disciple again. So it's not necessarily that physically the spiritual master will come life after life, but he will instruct, he will keep instructing. The link for receiving this transcendental knowledge by the pure devotee will never be broken. That is the import here. So suddenly, however, his entire behavior was changed by the words of the very prostitute who had so much attracted him, and he became a great devotee. In the lives of exalted devotees, there are many such instances, proving that once one has taken to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be lost. Kanteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashiti. The fact is, however, that one becomes a devotee when he is completely freed from all reactions to sinful life. As Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Yesham tvantakatam papam chananam punya karmanam tedvanda mohanir mukta bhajante mam dhridhavrita. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of illusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Here again we have the word determination. So it's not that if you come here to the temple only out of formality, that is lost. No, because it is counted as pious activity. So these types of pious activity are actually real pious activity because they will culminate in devotional service. There's 3 types of pious activity. One type, you will get material enjoyment. One type, you will get liberation into Brahman. And one type, you will get devotional service. So coming here is the best type of pious activity because it will lead one to devotional service. But, still we should try to realize that if the end is to chant Hare Krishna, if the end of all this is to become a devotee, become fixed up, chant 16 rounds a day and so on, why not do it now? That is intelligence. On the other hand, as Prahlad Maharaj said, Matirna Krishna paratahasvato va mito bipedyat grihavratanam. A person who is too attached to materialistic family life, home, family, wife, children, and so on, cannot develop Krishna consciousness. So again, same verse, same import here. Who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination. So therefore, someone who is suffering is actually fortunate. Because by suffering, we can understand these things. Now, why is Prahlad Maharaj saying family life? I'm really comfortable in my family life. I like my wife, I like my children. Now, it's not that wife and children have to be renounced. That is not the import here. But to be too attached to this materialistic way of life. And therefore, Krishna makes sure that we can taste the bitterness in family life. Has anyone here only had joyous moments with wife and children? Raise your hand. No one. It's not possible. Every day children cry, right? Young children, he took my ball, always breaking our ears, right? Of course, we tolerate. This is our duty. We have to do. Not that we run away. We're trying to be responsible fathers. That's good. But suffering is there. Every single day, I'm hungry. I don't like to eat this. I don't know. And the wife also, she's sometimes not satisfied. I don't like this. I don't like here. I don't want to go there. So every day we are like, serving. So why this is there? We have to understand that actually our wives and children are not the person who are going to make us happy. It's not them. It says that Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. So pleasure is found in Him. So therefore He arranges that we see the defect of material relationships, even with our own family. Actually, where else we're going to be learning this the hard way? Our own family life is there. So therefore we see that. Quarrel with family members, misunderstanding. Just like I'm attached to my son, definitely, I cannot deny that. But at times I'm looking at him and I'm like, wow, so much trouble you're bringing me. So these things must come also. We must understand that. It's not his fault. I'm not going to be blaming him. I keep crying. Not like that. But this is how Maya works. She uses us as tools to bring suffering to our dear ones. Just see how wicked this world is. We become the source of suffering for our beloved one. Because someone that you don't really know, he does something, you don't care, right? But someone who's dear to you, if he insults you, wow, then it comes like a burning shaft in the heart, right? So although our so-called material pleasure is brought about by a family member, our greatest miseries is also brought about by them, is it not? The greatest misery is also brought about by our family members. So one who's intelligent, he has to observe these things, that how is this world working? Why is it like this? It's Krishna who's making this understanding, because ultimately we have to even give up attachment to our own family members. Even material attachment. If our family members are devotees and we see them in that perspective, then it is beneficial. But that is a very advanced stage. To see one's wife only as a devotee and not as a wife, that is not easy. You cannot imitate that, actually. But ultimately, it has to be only Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Because the Lord says at the time of death, remembering me alone, you come to me. If you remember me alone, Krishna says. He didn't say, if you remember me and your dear wife, then you can come to me. No, he said alone. So, this attachment has to diminish, and that is one of the symptoms of advancement. It's not that we are becoming hard-hearted. That's not it. We are becoming disillusioned. That's the thing. Just like some now is very prominent, children playing games, right? Even adults now play games, So in China, I don't know about Singapore, but in China especially, the teenagers, they're all playing these games. They have these life games, they fight with one another and they get points and they level up and this and that. So they are very much attached to their, I've got this, they call it an avatar, right? And I've been playing this game for like 5 years and I put so much money in it, and they become attached to that. So they think that if one of their friends, I'll stop playing that game. What are you doing? We've had, we've done so many work together in that game. What are you doing? You're crazy. You cannot do that. So it's all based on illusion. This is just a game. So similarly, whatever we're doing in this material world will end at one point. It has to finish soon, right? 9 o'clock I finish. Huh? Stop at 9. So, to give up this illusory relationship is not hard-hearted. It's actually soberness. It's seeing things as they are. Because just like all of us are married almost, right? All of us here sitting here on the floor, of course. Prabhu is freed. But all of us are in the shackle of married life. But before we were not, isn't it? We remember the time where there was no wife, there was no children. How were we then? We're freed. I want to go there, I buy a ticket, I go. I want to sleep, I sleep now. I want to eat now, I eat now, right? So we were like this. And now what has happened now? Now there's a wife that always is in the back of our mind. There are children. We have to call them. We have to, so what has happened? Why now I've got this hook, attaching me somewhere. And then sometimes the wife dies, or the children dies. And then again, I'm back to being alone. So what happened in the middle? It's like a bubble. And then it explodes, right? There's a picture like that. So, home sweet home. Like a bubble. And then death is there with his very sharp weapon, and all this can go away, explode. So actually, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakanchati, actually we are free. We have no duties to perform. All these duties that we think I must do that, actually it's an illusion. We are not, we are free, we're spirit, eternal. There's no question of having to work and maintain the body and do these things, but because the false ego is just so strong, this is my wife, this is my children, I have my job, I have my work. Every morning we wake up and the mind starts, okay, what is the story we're going to talk about today? You wanted to get a better position in your work. You wanted to buy a new car. So the mind keeps talking, and yes, I have to do this. Like we're going about ghost hunted people. So, but actually, spirit soul is free. He's not entangled by any of these material duties. Of course, we cannot give them up like that straight away. It's not possible. That would kill us. So therefore, purify. Engage the family member in Krishna consciousness. Come to the temple with them. Chant Hare Krishna with them. Cook for Krishna. Engage the son and wife. And this way, the purification will be there. Just like when one gets indigestion by overindulgence in milk product, what is the cure? Curd, yogurt with black pepper. So the same thing, you take again milk product to cure dysentery, right? From overindulgence in milk or milk preparation. So again, by milk product, you cure the milk product. What does that mean? That means that our conditioning is due to all these material activities. But again, by the same activity, but adding Krishna in the center, we can become delivered. These apparent contradictions are resolved in the life of a devotee by the grace of the Supreme Lord, and therefore a devotee is never bereft of his position on the path of liberation, which is described in this verse as Shivatamam Padavim. So the whole point of this class is to say that we have to come to experience this higher taste. And this higher taste will come only when we are in the association of devotees, and therefore we'll be able to give up this desire for sense gratification and being happy at home without Krishna. Only then you can give up. Otherwise, there's no way. If we don't, and devotee association does not just come here to the temple. It actually means hearing with seriousness. Because now we're giving this class, but who is convinced? Who is convinced here? I don't know how many percentage. We are saying, yes, Prabhu, you're right. But then we're going back and again we're starting our whole, work and so on. So that means conviction is still not there. Faith is still not there. But never mind, coming again and again and again and again. But, at one point one should be intelligent enough to buy some beads and start chanting. If we come here and listen and do, but we're not chanting Hare Krishna, then what is it that we're doing? So those of you who don't have beads, please buy some beads and start chanting a prescribed number of rounds, 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 8 rounds. Doesn't matter, but keep a fixed number and chant daily. And just see the change that will be in your life. You'll become more and more happy, because here it is said, a higher taste. Higher taste is here. How can we give up our lower engagements? In China, I used to make at one point 40,000 yuan a month for China. That's like 400,000 rupees a month. That was my highest salary. I did that for like 8-9 months. And that was the time I became the most miserable. And that's at that time I became a devotee, So how can I have given up this? I could go back and do the same thing and make the same salary again. But, I really, this is disgusting for me now. So why is that? Not that I'm great or anything. It's simply the power of the holy name. So by chanting, we realize this knowledge. Otherwise, it's only a theoretical book. So let's not be just formally coming to the temple, but let's seek that higher taste, in relationship with the Lord. Kantarashman Bhagavad Gita Kri Jai, Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitāi Go Premanande. Hari Hari.